with those things, naturally you want to make yourself available to help others deal with those things. And when you help others to deal with those things, you learn the lesson even better than you just when you went through stuff on your own. It's a principle of learning that when you teach others, it helps you learn. Not like you should become a teacher when you don't know anything, but by having, let's say, fundamental, just say teaching Bhagavad Gita or anything, you're teaching your children. There's principles of life. There's principles in Bhagavad Gita. And by teaching and teaching and teaching the Bhagavad Gita, you become more familiar with the message of Bhagavad Gita and the strength that being in touch with Bhagavad Gita brings to someone that's immersed in Bhagavad Gita. It's just a principle of education. And it's a principle of life. You have to act with the right principles. You don't just teach principles and don't live by them. But if you live by them and teach them, those principles become stronger for you. You get more inner strength. How many obstacles did our founder Acharya meet? From the get-go. I mean, we could have a whole discussion on that one. Thing after thing after thing. How many of us, what would we have done if his situation, what he says, when he came off the boat during the journey to heart attacks, when he came off the boat, he said, I didn't know whether to turn left or turn right. There wasn't somebody waiting for him at the end of the walkway, gangplank, you call it, going down the boat. What do you do? He didn't have any money. He had no one to receive him. Where to go? He doesn't give the details, but he somehow found his way to Port Authority bus station, got on a bus to Butler, Pennsylvania from New York City. If you've been in Port Authority, it's a zoo. And, an aristocratic gentleman entering into Port Authority, going to Butler, Pennsylvania, didn't have any money. I don't know how he got on the bus. Maybe the Agrawal family wired some money to the Greyhound bus station or something, paid his ticket or something. Then after staying, you didn't come to stay with the family in Butler, Pennsylvania. He came back to New York, and for a whole year, he didn't have any place to live. He didn't have any money. He didn't have any, so, etc. It's easy to go on and on and on. And reversal after reversal after reversal. So many things. But it was a mission. This is this Viktor Frankl story. The mission awaiting for him, a worthy mission waiting for him to fulfill. That was mission given by Siddhanta, mission impossible, but no resource. Like, wow. Anyway, so many things. But he stayed the course. And his mission was helping in every single person. I mean, you've seen maybe the interview of Sally Agarwal. There's a little video biography of Prabhupada, and her words are, Swamiji was so nice. He always treated us so kindly in their little sun bridge and things. Anyway, his demeanor matched his convictions. So it's certainly easy to see the resilience of the mission-driven founder Acharya. And when one has that resting upon knowing who you are and your mission of life. Na sochati na kansati, samaksarvishu bhuteshu, madbhaktim labate param. He was living the life of one who was self-realized, although he was just amongst everyday people without any difficulty. So there is such a thing as strength beyond our own strength, like a little child holding on to the hand of their parent. So for this principle of self-realization coming up as Balaram's appearance day, one cannot attain the supreme platform of self-realization without being sufficiently favored by Balaram. Bala does not mean physical strength. No one can attain spiritual perfection by physical strength. One must have the spiritual strength, which is infused by Balaram or Sankarsana. So, inner strength, that's resiliency. And how do we get that inner strength? By the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. There's strength that comes to one who tries to sincerely take shelter of that sound vibration, and the Krishna connection is made. Of course, through the medium of the spiritual master, but Krishna connection is made. So here's our strength, the Hare Krishna Mantra. And anybody, anywhere, in any position, can receive that same strength. Because your receiver has to be on, but the broadcaster is on. Just turn the receiver on. And when that receiver is on, then one becomes dhira, very sober. Even Prabhupada's definition of the word dhira, very simple. One who remains undisturbed when there's no cause for disturbance is not something wonderful. One who remains undisturbed even when there is cause for disturbance, that is something wonderful. That is the meaning of dhira. And to become undisturbed even when there's cause for disturbance, there has to be some purpose or focus or concentration on the life's mission, relationship with Krishna. And with this, another scriptural reference, many of you are familiar, this quoted so many times. Lord Brahma, after stealing the calf and gathered boys and all of that episode, and he comes before Krishna and is saying, I'm sorry. He's expecting he's going to get spanked. He's going to get a reaction. He's going to get some misfortune that comes to him. So he's making the statement, even when that misfortune comes to me, I will be able to endure it because I have your shelter. Tatenu kampam samikshamano, ujjana evat kritam vipakam. Prabhupada makes reference to this in chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita, where he writes, whenever a devotee is distressed, in distress, or has fallen into difficulty, he thinks that it is the Lord's mercy upon him. He thinks, thanks to my past misdeeds, I should suffer far, far greater than what I am suffering now. So, it is by the mercy of the Supreme Lord that I am not getting all the punishment I am due. I'm just getting a little by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now that's a little different than what Brahma is saying. Brahma is saying, whatever it is that you send my way, I'm deserving. But my mind is not going to budge an inch from your lotus feet. So that's the determination. That's the resilience in the face of reversals. This having, you're entitled to, for all spirit souls, have an eternal relation with Krishna, and we're entitled to that shelter. And Krishna is willing to extend that shelter, just depending upon our eagerness. And that's where resiliency comes from. That simplicity, austerity, and shelter. and you feel that connection, and it's okay. I mean, the circumstance isn't necessarily okay, but it's okay because nothing you can do about the circumstance anyways. When Prabhupada got at the end of the gangplank and got off the ship and didn't know whether to turn left or right, the circumstance isn't going to change by being in distress about it, etc., etc., etc. So many other obstacles and misfortunes that came his way. And he's not just a great soul, an exceptional, empowered personality representing the personality of Godhead through disciplined succession. So effectively, it's never been done in the history of the world. And yet, adversity. So we're little people. Really little people. And we should expect. It's through Kalyam Shashvatam. It's the nature of the place. Now, what's our purpose? While being here and going through circumstances, there's nothing we can do about it. If there's shelter, one more time, if there's shelter in the lotus feet of Krishna, this is our spiritual response to resilience in the face of reversals. Shelter, eternally available to us, the opportunity to access that shelter is abundantly made available, blessings, as they say. You can look at, oh, it's not what it could be. It's okay. It is what it is. We're blessed with having that access. There are lots of people who don't have that access due to guna and karma. They're too much covered. Even when the access is given, they don't recognize it. So we have lots of blessings, like the Chinese farmer. Obsessing about misfortune doesn't make the misfortune go away. What do? Take shelter. And then you have inner strength, and with that inner strength, there's resilience to transcend and properly deal with and address yourself to the circumstance that's the reversal circumstance or the misfortune circumstance that's thrust upon you. Here's what just because of that end. What the devotees in Houston did is they took the opportunity to increase their preaching. You know, there wasn't electricity, but somehow they were able to run their kitchen because they had gas stoves, so they could use their gas stove in kitchens, and they made prasadam distribution for people that would have without anything to eat. It was an act of kindness, but it brought a lot of goodwill to them and Krishna's pleasure, because for distributing prasadam, even the restaurant couldn't operate because there was no electricity in the restaurant. But they didn't stop their prasadam distribution; they increased it, just diversified it according to the circumstance. And income from the restaurant wasn't there, but people were so happy to see what they were doing. They had more income during the electrical outage than otherwise. So Krishna took care of them as they were taking care of others who were undergoing misfortune. They had at least the facilities, some capacity to do something, and so they did what they could do. Very nice. A nice example. At least from my visit to Houston, very, very recent, very practical. So think about it. Next time some misfortune comes your way, the reversal comes your way, you're heading this way, the next thing you know, you're going that way instead of this way. Why? What to do? Let's see if there's some discussion. I'm not sure how it's going to work because this isn't so. It's a philosophical topic, but it's also very practical. Yes.
Thank you so much for nicely explaining, especially principle centered. I could not understand how simplicity and austerity principles will help in dealing with reversals knowledge.
Should I do it again? Go back to the slide. What does Shrishti mean?
What is happening in circumstances
The circumstances that are happening, and they are what they are. And then drishti is how you perceive those circumstances. So here's the Chinese farmer story. He tells it very easily. The circumstances were what they were. They were acknowledged by the farmer and by the village people. Then how is he perceiving drishti? How can I say it's misfortune? So he just waited, and then the misfortune became fortune, and then the fortune became misfortune, and so he remained because of his, you could say, his philosophy or his way of life. He wasn't disturbed. He remaining undisturbed even when there's cause for disturbance. Each of the circumstances was good, his good fortune, that bad fortune. He remained equipoised. So that was his drishti capacity. And for Lord Brahma, or for us, for those followers of Bhagavad Gita, there's Krishna's shelter. When there's Krishna's shelter, the Shrishti can be whatever it is, but we're looking for how is this connected by Krishna, because for a devotee, circumstances aren't simply due to the external energy. Circumstances are consented by the Supreme Lord in his internal energy. I mean, within scripture, there's plenty of examples, within practical life, there's plenty of examples. Ramayana is filled with it. Misfortune, and different people responding to the misfortune. That help? Okay.
Thank you so much for the wonderful class and dealing with the reversals. So, while thinking more on this topic, I was contemplating any reversal or challenges come in our life. The immediate thought could be, oh, this is my bad karma,
Yes.
and I have to suffer for this, and let me learn something good from this.
Yeah.
So that could be one.
Yeah.
And even in those reversals, although externally we understand, it is Krishna's plan, but internally we are like, how to fix that problem, how to remove that problem. So externally we know the philosophy, but internally accepting the shelter of the Lord and leaving the dependence on the Lord. Oh Lord, you do what is the best for me, and you please guide me. So taking those intense shelter in those difficult situations, somehow in our heart there is something else is going on, and externally we might be able to say, okay, so I'm not sure how to best.
Okay. To say, one of the topics I wanted to cover, I chose to not cover it because of time, is principle of acceptance. In the principle of acceptance of misfortune that makes resilience, it doesn't mean The way I should live my life is just be a human punching bag. And take this blow and that blow and the other blow and just be a human punching bag. So if there's something is coming my way due to some past misdeed, it's not that you should switch off your intelligence and discern what's the right thing to do in this circumstance. What's advised is don't lose the Krishna connection, being obsessed by fixing the problem. Address problems. Here's it, you're driving in your car and a car is heading towards you. I'm getting my karma, here comes a car heading towards me and crash. You know, you do practical things. When doing those practical things in life, by practice and by attachment to Krishna, stay attached to Krishna, stay attached to that higher purpose while you're dealing with the temporary little things. Compared to the higher purpose, there's temporary. Ashashvatam. Very, very temporary. So you deal with the temporary. You deal with the temporary. It's hot. You do something practical. No, if you're a tapasvi, you build a fire around you when it's hot. And you enter into the cold water when it's winter. You go into Gangotri and up to here, you do that on purpose. To deprive the senses of that sense of happiness. So, that's not our lifestyle. We do practical things, and while doing the main point I want to make is in response to your questions, try to ensure by the inner cultivation of attachment to Krishna that your remembrance of Krishna, your purpose of serving Krishna in every circumstance doesn't escape you by getting too much immersed in the misfortune or the good fortune and becoming indulgent in the good fortune. So you tolerate Bharata, you tolerate the good fortune and fortune, a little bit like the Chinese farmer. And stay fixed and cultivate it as a mission in life, affinity for Krishna. Like you said, lessons to be learned. So I may not understand the lesson, but it's not, it's at least for one who's living their life that way, it's not prarabdha karma manifesting, it's something else. I may not understand what that something else is, that's okay. Oh, I'd like to understand that something else. I'm not obsessed about what the something else is. What you do want to stay fixed in is attachment to Krishna. So that the Hare Krishna mantra, it's something we do every day in a quality way, every day. And over so many years, that's the ballast, that's the resiliency. So that I can stay focused. So when some danger comes, your chanting may become more intense, not sidetracked. And when the time of death comes and everything is dislocated and the pain is whatever it is, the intensity goes up. By practice and practice and practice and practice. The shelter taking in lesser tribulations will help us in the final tribulation. Anything else? Yes?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
There we go.
Hare Krishna. Can you please explain, Maharaj, the meaning of the word simplicity?
Yeah.
Shed more light.
Okay. It can mean different things. I like the simplicity application where the principles that I live by there's details and details, and one can get lost in details and lose principle. So stay with principle, that it's very clear, very crisp, very sharp. The complexities of life can be seen and pass through them, holding on to principles that are very simple. I'll give an example. A very elevated devotee came to meet with me recently, and he wanted to talk about time management because. So I actually surprised myself how the answer I gave was very simple, and live by it. I mean, having that discussion helped me become more clear. What are the principles of time management that I live by? And it's just, two things. Big rocks first, time management, the principle. Okay. Okay. I'm going to speak to this lovely little girl, your daughter here next to you. I'm going to ask you a question. You ready? You like quiz questions, right? Here's a glass jar. And over on this side, there's a big rock, there's smaller rocks, there's pebbles, and there's sand. And they're all going to fit in this glass jar. What goes in first? That's the quiz question. Huh? I couldn't hear. The big rock. If you put the sand in first, or the pebbles, or the other rocks, the big rock isn't necessarily going to fit. But you need the sand to last, and then it can filter around where the big rock is, and then the smaller rocks and the pebbles. They'll all fit. But you put the big rock first. So that's time management. What's the big rock? So for us, it's our daily sadhana. And it goes in first. So we had a discussion about how to do that, how to ensure that, etc., without all that discussion. So time management is big rocks first. That means, I for example, I saw on the schedule this class was supposed to begin at 6:30, 7 o'clock. I requested, can it start at 6:30? And some of you came on time at 6:30. So it starts at 6:30 and ends whenever, in a reasonable time, so I can take rest at night and get up early. Because the big rock first. Time management principle. And that's how I manage my time. And then other things, and the other thing is that's the stones, the pebbles, and the sand. The other principle is from the heart. That is, what's important to my service for Srila Prabhupada. And then there's things that I like to do, but I like to do especially those things that he liked. His mission, assisting his mission. That's not for me, that's from the heart. So we talked about it, but it's rooted in those two principles. Big rock first, time management, and from the heart. My heart is to being somewhat useful, trying to be a somewhat useful instrument for my spiritual master, Founder Acharya, for his mission. There's pebbles and stones and sand. So some of each, but those other things are all driven by the heart and being an instrument. It's very simple. And I make choices based upon, saying yes to some things and no to some other things based on that principle. And I could give examples, but I don't need to give examples. It's because it's simple. And there's complexity that comes along with life. And I can give, for example, I'll give one example, because it's just recent. The Chinese government is getting frisky with religion. And they're particularly frisky with foreign involvement connected with religion. But even their own Chinese people, they're turning on the heat with religion without details. And so my visits to China are, maybe the faucet, the tap is going to be turned off for visiting, but then there's other things. So over the period of a month, there's been discussion about they have a national holiday. Chinese people are workaholic people, but there's 7 days where they don't work because it's their national holidays. When the Communist Party took over, like our Independence Day, when the Communist Party took over, they had their national holiday for 7 days, a big festival, and then stuck from from Mao days till today. So there's been discussion about where. So it's going to be a Zoom class, and then where would I be during the Zoom class? And it's without all the details. It's now finalized. So I can be in a place where others can hear. Some Chinese people can go to the place where I'm going to be, if they can afford it, because it's not in their town. It's in another country that they can get a visa for. So without it's principal center, it's giving association, because that's part of Prabhupada's China mission, giving to a big chunk of the world population at least the opportunity to hear the message of Krishna consciousness. This heart being an instrument of the mission, and little, the details, the sand, the little refinements are all driven by that one thing. So that's the simplicity. And it moves matter, it moves decisions, it moves the heart, it moves by remaining simple and not deviating from it. And learning how to say no, because it doesn't match that principle. Not nasty no, but just to keep things simple. And that, so when the heart is simple, then life becomes simple. There's complexity, but you can move through complexity in a very simple way when your heart is really simple. With a smile. That's a little bit on, for me, what simplicity means. Principles that you live by. Deal with complexity, and deal with reversals, and deal with misfortune, remaining very simple in principle. Okay. Anything else? No one else has their hand up, so go ahead.
I really like this topic because I contemplate on it and I see how practicing devotees deal with it. So one thing I noticed is as we grow in devotion, initially the value we place on asasukam, temporary things, is more. So the relative value in the absolute,
Yeah.
our mission is less.
Yes.
It's very hard to deal with reversals at that stage.
Yes.
But then when the opposite comes true, when the devotees are growing this value more, then they can deal with reversals better.
It may be that the complexities dial up too. hardship and the obstacles and the, misfortune dials up sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. But the capacity to endure it. One of the things that I learned is from Prabhupada, Krishna never puts you through a difficulty that you don't have the capacity or strength to endure. He'll give you the intelligence and the strength, but obstacle and difficulty help you like build your bhakti muscle. That in answer to your question. Go ahead.
So when practicing devotees reach this stage, then they cannot see how this is helping them to take shelter of Krishna like that.
Even if you don't see the answer to that question, it doesn't block you from taking shelter of Krishna. Then you take shelter of Krishna, and then maybe when Krishna so desires, the little light goes on, then you say, oh, that's what was going on. In retrospect.
So is there how to teach someone to place more value on the higher mission, higher purpose of life?
Well, how to teach people is you live it. Achar speaks stronger than prachar. You live your life that way, and it can get communicated by how you live your life. And then, Krishna, depending upon the person, circumstance, place, time, words may change, but the principle, Krishna can give you intelligence how to say the right things because there's the achar is right. And you may make some mistakes in your prachar, but that's okay. Correction will be made by Krishna because he's guiding. Okay, you have something.
Maharaj, when you are explaining about purpose of the life, I was thinking about Bharata's life, even when he had so many reversals in his life. People were blaming him. I'm talking about Ramayana and Bharata. When Bharata has reversals, everyone is blaming him for taking the.
Yeah.
So, but still he was taking the strength he had was shelter of the Lord Ram.
Yes.
So the how can have that a deepened relationship, but kind of.
Well, that's our devotional. The answer to that question is how to proceed, how to progress in devotional life. For us, we follow the vidhis of Vaidhi Bhakti, and it's not just the rules of the vidhis, it's the relationship from whom the vidhis have come. It's like, practicing Krishna consciousness for many, 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 many years. Some of us have been practicing Krishna consciousness for many years. It's not possible to just be a rule follower and it happens. But it's a connection with the person. But by living your life, this is the achar, by living your life in that relationship with that person, the vidhis will help you deepen your relationship and your strength. Just don't deviate. And what it is the reverse. Supposing over a period of time you become a little relaxed. A little relaxed becomes more than a little relaxed, becomes fallen. And that happens. So it's back to the simplicity question that he has. Is steadfast to the purpose of your life. For me, gratitude is an essence. That's it. It's one of the simplicity factors. Gratitude. Gratitude is a seed of love. So we're here because we can say mom and dad and da 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 da. But, we're here from many, many different rivulets that come into the stream. The stream is going to the sea. It's directing our attention to the personality of Godhead through different mediums. We're recipients of Krishna's mercy, and acknowledging that. Then it makes the dedication to the person. And those principal persons who we have received that connection from. That's really important to us. The gratitude is the seed of love. Thank you. Okay, we're going to end. And thank you all for coming. And we'll see you all when we see you all again. I don't know when that's going to be. I won't be with you on Sunday because there's some sannyasi or somebody like that is going to be speaking at the temple on Sunday. So I'm not going to be with you on Sunday. But I'll be somewhere. Srila Prabhupada. I have some Mahaprasad that I'd like to give out. That's okay, I'll do that.